ticket on my kids. If you ballin' and they broke, how the fuck you even live? You local niggas think I'm focused on your bitch. I'm out the way, I'm overseas, I'm with some shit you couldn't hit. I got a G for every pimple on your face, nigga. This bitch think I zoot kick cause it be apes with him. My hood stole like OVO, we got.
It's your boy Mike Easy, and today we are going to react to Tory Lanez sentenced to 10 years in prison. Let's get into it.
Now I want to come on here and talk a little bit about the Tory Lanez verdict that just came in yesterday. The shooting that happened back in 2020, the one involving Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion, well, Tory just got convicted for that shooting and got a 10-year prison sentence. I'm sure you know all about this story, but let me refresh your memory really quickly. So back in 2020, Tory, Meg, Kelsey Nicole, and Meg's bodyguard were at a party. They were at this pool party that was hosted in Kylie Jenner's house. And what ended up happening after that is all of them left the party. They all ended up together in a black SUV and they were riding around in a whip, right? And that ended up leading to some type of verbal altercation between Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion. Meg hopped out the car, started walking away from the vehicle. One thing led to another and Tory allegedly shot Meg in the foot. The LAPD ended up getting reports of a shooting that involved 4 different people. They eventually arrived to the scene and that's the start of this long-winded saga. Meg initially told the police that she accidentally stepped on broken glass and cut herself, but days later came out and said that Tory Lanez shot her. So the prosecution was actually seeking a 13-year prison sentence, right? And Tory was initially facing 22 years behind bars for this particular crime. So this verdict, as crazy as it sounds, is actually a very good outcome for Tory Lanez. I'll be honest with you, and I know a lot of people are not gonna like this, but even after this guilty verdict, there's still so much I'm personally doubting about this case. I still have so many questions. There's still so many holes that haven't been filled in my mind, big pause, about this entire story. One question that always went through my head as it relates to this entire thing is, how exactly did a story that was this convoluted even get a trial in the first place? And why did it take such a long time to clarify what really happened on that night of July when Meg was allegedly shot by Tory? I think everybody who was watching this entire thing go down, regardless of what side you're on, probably at some point felt some type of skepticism towards it. Personally, I think the heavy investment from the public greatly affected the outcome that we have in front of us. It's said that public opinion isn't supposed to have an effect or sway the law in any direction as it relates to how the law handles their business. But for this specific story, honestly, personally for me, I can't really say that's exactly how things went. This Megan Thee Stallion and Tory Lanez case was greatly affected by the public in several ways. One of those ways is, of course, the fact that we're talking about 2 mainstream and famous celebrities who got millions of fans who've been chiming in on a case as it's been progressing. That obviously created a wedge in the middle of this entire thing, and it split the public in half. Either Meg was lying and Tory Lanez didn't do it, or Tory was telling the truth and Meg was lying. First of all, I want to say this right. A guilty verdict is a guilty verdict. I don't think any of us can argue against that. No matter how I might feel about the depiction of the story, if we just bottom line what happened, Tory Lanez got accused of shooting another woman and he then got convicted of shooting said woman. I don't think there's much to argue as far as the verdict itself, as there is the credibility of everyone who's involved in this story. That includes Tory Lanez himself, Megan Thee Stallion, her bodyguard, and Kelsey Nicole. And I'll say this, I've never seen a story involving another man being accused of shooting another woman being so far from straightforward. In any other situation where a man gets accused of something like this, there's usually a pretty straight direction towards a conclusion. And so considering the severity of these allegations and the fact that there are multiple people involved, a storyline with this much chicanery makes me not trust what comes after the fact. And here's the thing, right? I'm not here to point the finger at Meg, not at all, because I refuse to use my platform to demonize the woman regardless of how I feel about some of the things she said, regardless of the fact that a lot of the stuff that she said didn't actually make sense. There were times where Meg made statements that didn't make sense. And there were times where she made statements that directly contradicted the actual facts of what really happened that night. At the end of the day, I can't really speak for her mental state after what happened. I don't know what it's like to wake up in Megan Thee Stallion's shoes and have something like this happen to you. And the thing is, it's so hard for me to say that Tory Lanez didn't do it because the law just said that he did it. I'm only expressing my skepticism because this was a convoluted and perplexing story that still, despite the verdict, leaves me feeling like I'll truly never know what happened on that very night of July. Now, what exactly does this mean for Tory Lanez? Well, first of all, he's going to be gone for a while, obviously. However, not entirely for the 10 he got, because in California, where this happened, since what Tory got convicted for are felony charges, committing a violent felony in the state of California means that they're going to have to serve at least 85% of the sentence, minus the time he's already served. So let's just say that Tory will be gone for at least the next 7-8 years. You know, one thing I think as a man you should do, right, is anything that happens in any given situation, you make sure that you take accountability for that. You should always take a look at the man in the mirror and point any frustration you might have towards yourself, no matter what the situation is. I say that to say Tory Lanez, even before he allegedly did what he did, gravely messed up because he was involved in a situation that was bound to go left from the start. Tory Lanez was involved in a love triangle, right? It was Tory, it was Meg, and then it was Kelsey Nicole, and they were supposedly good friends. He then left a billionaire's pool party, Kylie Jenner, late at night while being intoxicated with the two women, went inside a car that had a gun in it, which the cops later ended up finding in California, of all places. I mean, the amount of faulty moves Tory made blows my mind, and I think if there's anyone to blame for the situation, it's Tory Lanez himself. Tory should have never even left that party with Megan to begin with. That was the first mistake. Really though, the first mistake was when he decided to have a sexual relationship with a famous rapper, Meg, and then after that, sleep with her friend. It was confirmed by the prosecution that Tory Lanez and Meg were in an intimate sexual relationship.
Did you have an intimate relationship with him?
Like sexual?
Yeah. Did you have?
There were times where Meg made statements that didn't make sense.
Megan, did you have a sexual relationship with Tory Lanez? Yes, that's my question.
I didn't have a sexual relationship with Tory.
This is, of course, a completely separate point from the verdict in itself. I'm just trying to paint a picture of the faulty moves Tory made way before the ultimate one happened. And, the media has sensationalized this story, not because they care about black women, believe it or not. It's because there's a lot of money in keeping the conflict between the black woman and the black man going. That's why. What you gotta realize about this Megan Thee Stallion and Tory Lanez case is the fact that this was never about wanting justice for Megan. And I'm talking about the media, or in other words, the machine when I say that. The agenda behind the extensive coverage of the story was to aggrandize, highlight, and validate the conflict between the black woman and the black man that's so visible in society nowadays. The picture they've been painting with this story, and by the way, before I say this, keep in mind that Meg and Tory Lanez were just the pawns in a bigger game, right? The picture they've been painting with the story is one filled with clash, combativeness, and division. That's always been the concealed, or maybe not so concealed since I'm talking about it now. That's always been the main motive and intention of covering it so heavily. And this has nothing to do with whether or not Tory actually did it or not, right? It's just that when there's an opportunity open to monetarily exploit a conflict like this, they're always going to jump on it because they know that people will fall for it. With that being said, regardless of my skepticism of this entire story, at the end of the day, Tory Lanez was found guilty. That's what it is. Anyway, my opinion aside, I'm curious what you have to say. What do you think about this verdict? I mean, Tory just got 10 years. 10 years is a lot, okay? But of course, like I said, he's going to be serving like 7 to 8, right? But anyway, I'm curious what you have to say about this. The Tory Lanez verdict is in. It's official. He got hit with a 10-year prison sentence for the shooting that happened back in 2020 with him, involving him and Megan Thee Stallion. Curious to hear what you have to say. You let me know, and I am out.
Alright, y'all. Yeah, make sure like, comment, and subscribe. And Mike Easy out.
Bows, I think they geek. Watch I pull up, hop out in some shit you never seen. Bitches be like Neffy, I'm like, no, I'm Mr. Clean. Please do not approach me if you see I'm off the lane. I made a hunt, but ain't no snakes with me. I moved a sack like Dre did, but I'm a Bay nigga. Everything in your mama name, cause you stay with her.
Up, that's what he get for snitching. We them niggas applying all the pressure. Real steppers, let me eat that pussy for breakfast. I'm in New Orleans at the Essence. Niggas be